What's up, everybody? It is Peaceful here. I got another deck guide for you. Today we are going over a new Thanos deck for you. It is a deck featuring Alioth, the new Marvel Snap card that just came out this week. And before we dive into it, I'd just like to mention again, if you are not already subscribed to the channel, please do. This helps me out immensely, helps grow my channel, helps my video reach more people. And if you enjoy this content, that is the best way for you to get more of it. So please, if you do enjoy the content, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and let me know in the comments what other decks you would like to see. I'd love to do more of these. So all that said, let's go ahead and dive right into it. So here is the deck list I have for you today. This is my Alioth Thanos deck. You'll notice a little bit different than the last deck I posted. There's no more Lockjaw. There's a lot more ramp, and there is Alioth. So the game plan changes quite a bit for this one. And what I want to kind of do is just summarize what you want to look to be doing. As you'll notice, there is Psylocke, Wave, and as you obviously know, Time Stone. Now, for this deck in particular, Wave is actually the worst one because you don't really want to give them the opportunity to get a big card out. But Wave is still, I believe, a necessity because of the amount of big cards we have in this deck. You want to be doing some sort of ramp on turn 3 every single game. So if you have hands that aren't capable of ramping out something big on turn 4 and don't have an early game, those are your weak hands. Your strong hands are anything with some early tempo, some stones, Mind Stone, stuff like that. Mind Stone is obviously still a very good draw in this deck, even with the nerf to Soul Stone. Psylocke, Wave, or Time Stone on turn 3 into something like Professor X is usually a recipe for success. You are also running Klaw, obviously, for the synergy with X. Onslaught for the synergy with Klaw and Iron Man. You can often set up a single lane with a Professor X into Klaw, and generally now you're ahead in 2 lanes. You then get to Alioth them and end the game. Now, just keep in mind, Alioth works a lot better with priority. That's what I love about these Thanos decks, as you probably will remember if you watched my last Thanos deck guide. Thanos decks to me are best when you're fighting for priority, when you are the one ahead and you are the one controlling what happens in the game. It is why I don't run things like Shang. It is why things like Armor and Cosmo have been at times so good in these decks. It is because you have that priority. You get to stick those into their plays and mess them up and get your free wins that way, on top of also just being able to Professor X them into Alioth. It is, I cannot overstate how powerful this combo is. You've probably seen a ton of it on ladder because I've seen a ton of people doing this exact strategy with other decks as well, where you just try and Professor X them on a lane and then Alioth them in another and win. And when that's the meta, when there's a lot of people doing that, you definitely want to have priority because the Alioth that reveals first wins. That's just the way it works. So just keep that in mind. That's the best advice I can give for playing this deck is fight for prio. Don't stick in the games where you don't have your good ramp early. So let's go ahead and go over some of the key combos of the deck. Obviously, we kind of talked about this already a little bit, but ramp plus Professor X, that's a recipe for success. Make sure you're planning out where you put your Professor X. You generally don't want to put it in the left lane unless you have to, because you cannot support it there with Klaw. But if you're positive you can win doing that, then it is okay to do so. Iron Man, Onslaught, Klaw, Onslaught. Again, I know people have questioned this choice a lot, and even be honest, it's a lot worse in this deck than it was with Cosmo to protect it. But there's not a lot of Enchantress around. I've literally not gotten Enchantress with this deck because people are playing so many different things. They're playing Loki and stuff like that. I have yet to get Enchantress for what it's worth, or Super Scrolled. Obviously, those cards are very bad for this deck when you're running things like Iron Man and Onslaught, but these combos will win you a lot of games against what decks you're going to actually see in the metagame. Things like Loki and Move and Patriot Iron Lad, stuff like that. Those decks have a hard time beating an Iron Man Onslaught lane. They just do. That is just going to go taller than anything they can be doing, and you're going to win that lane pretty much guaranteed. So the games where you don't draw Alioth, that's kind of your game plan. Now, yeah, Alioth's a lot safer. Not going to lie to you. I've had some of them seen Alioth hits. You'll see a few of them here in the video, but you can win games without it. Wave on turn 5 is still good in this deck. If you have a turn where you get an early Professor X out or something like that, and then you're already pretty far ahead in the other lanes because of stones and stuff like that, you can just wave on turn 5 plus, like, say, a Jeff, and then just Alioth wherever you want on the last turn. And generally, that's going to guarantee you a win because they can't play to 2 lanes. You know that it's going to lock it in. It is a very, very nice combo to have sort of in your back pocket against decks you know that it's going to be good against. And just keep all these things in mind. This deck has a ton of avenues to victory, and you can definitely steal some huge cube wins because people just don't expect things like Klaw on the Professor X lane. They were sure to win. They still don't play around. Iron Man Onslaught, things like that, they don't plan on beating those, and you can definitely go taller than a lot of decks that way. All right, so let's talk about snapping. You definitely need to be very smart with your snaps with this deck. But now that Soulstone has been nerfed, you really need your Mind Stone early if you don't have that ramp into Professor X draw. So just keep that in mind. If you have a Mind Stone, you can generally find a way to win because you draw into cards that cycle. The only real whiff is if you draw exactly Power Stone and Soulstone, which is a pretty feels bad now. When it used to be Soulstone was the best stone to draw, now you're kind of like, oh, this is sad. So just keep that in mind. You can still win with that draw because those are still, Soulstone is still a good effect to have on board. It's easy to be like, oh man, they nerfed Soulstone, rip Soulstone, but it's honestly still a pretty decent card a lot of times into a lot of different decks. It's a one cost, 5 power a lot of times if you play it into the right lane. So my best advice that's changed with Soulstone is you just hold it a lot more than you used to. You used to always play it out early. Now it's more strategic where you play it. You want to play it into a lane where the Soul Stone is going to have an actual effect. Say the lane you want a Professor X. That's a good spot to put it. Just try and plan that a little bit more than you used to. You would just cycle it to get the stone down, and it would just make them wary of playing into the lane. Now you really want to use it as that surprise power that they just won't. It makes it really hard for them to plan around where you're going to put stuff on especially on the last turn because you can go like turn 5 drop plus Soulstone, and it can be pretty strong. Another good thing to snap is if you have a lockdown plan in hand, so like something like Professor X, and then you have Alioth in hand to back it up. That's generally a good hand to snap as well, because that means you can go Professor X, especially if you get Professor X down turn 4, Professor X with Psylocke or Wave, Klaw on turn 5, and then Alioth wherever you need it to lock down a lane and make sure you win. That's just generally a winning strategy. I would snap that hand every time and just trust that's going to be good enough because it often is. You'll see I put here Alioth against combo. I will snap uh, very late only against combo decks because a lot of times they'll set up say like a Wong. You see them play Wong and it's going into the last turn and they snap you, then you just get a free snap back because you usually have prio and you get to go Alioth into their Wong lane, kill everything that they're going to play there before it goes off and just win. So this has come up a surprising amount. People set up their combo turns. They think they're ready to kill you, and then you just Alioth them out of the game. I actually think this is my favorite use case for Alioth, and I think it's actually a good thing to have in the game because those late game combo decks can be very frustrating to lose against when you sort of feel helpless, and Alioth is a good way to be like, well, at least I know that whatever they're setting up here is not going to work. So those are my general snap strategies. Let me know if there's anything you feel like I didn't cover in the comments. I'd be happy to fill you in. Yeah, I'm very responsive in the comments, so just let me know. Last up, you see this replacements list is very short. I think every card in this deck, other than Thanos and Jeff, are pretty common cards that people have, obviously, and Alioth. So if you haven't picked up Alioth, I'll just go ahead and say it. Just play my old list. I have a video down below. I'll make sure and link it here at the end of this video so you can check it out if you haven't already. That is a very good deck to play if you don't have Alioth. It still works, y'all. I mean, like Armor plus Cosmo into Professor X and all the ongoing stuff is still a very viable strategy. I've had plenty of success with just that same list, even after Loki came out, even after the Soulstone nerf. It is definitely a little bit worse, but it is still a very good deck and is still going to win you a lot of games. Other than that, obviously you have to have Thanos, so I'm not going to give you a replacement for Thanos when it is a key component of the deck. But Jeff is the one card that I kind of did want to cover. You can really put anything in this slot that you feel will be useful to you. If you see a lot of like things like High Evo, you can put Cage. If you're worried about Loki, you can put Shadow King. I think that's probably the best tech piece to run against Loki specifically because it's just very, very good at shutting down like their collectors and stuff like that. Or you can just run Cosmo. Cosmo's tried and true. Cosmo does a lot of work against a lot of different decks. And obviously you have quite a few on reveals in this deck, but you also have a lot of ongoings that you want to be able to protect and make sure that nothing happens too. So there's always that as well. Just keep that in mind that you can always slot Cosmo back into this deck and it'll work pretty well for you. Just be smart about where you place it and where you're playing your on reveal effects. That's really it for today. I know this is a little bit short of a deck guide, but that's because I've covered a lot of this Thanos stuff in my other Thanos guide. So if you haven't seen those, check in the comments. I'll try and put a card here as well, so you can grab it and go take a look at it if you would like. That go over a lot of other stuff in a lot more detail. So I just wanted to really get a version of this deck out for you, for those of you wanting to try Alioth, because I do think Alioth is a very strong fit in Thanos. So go give it a try. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you're running into. Let me know what you're struggling with, and I'll help you. If I can, I'll help you brainstorm something to beat it. And got a few games here at the end. We had some really sweet Alioth games, so check them out. And thanks for watching as always. I will catch you next time. Sure. All right, so our goal this turn is to just be ahead, right? So wherever they set up their Deadpool or whatever, we just Alioth and Jean are so good together. I could see that. Do we sack this spot? It's not sacking it because of this. We get the energy is the main reason I did this. Yep. Nope. Nope. Okay. There's a slight issue here. Just a slight one. Thing is, we get to play two cards next turn. Oh, the guy, yeah, he's definitely Hollywood. True story. They get to play one card. Null is not big enough. Death. So we just need to beat a death, right? And we beat death with this play in both spots. Yeah, and we beat Alioth in both spots with this too. Yep.
Victory.
Gotta love it, chat. Get absolutely wrecked.
The universe shall be set right.
So playing that. And now we have to sit and wait for a minute, but we definitely snap. So we haven't seen wave, but I'm pretty sure they have a wave in this deck, by the way. We need to kind of play for around that. Sure. Let's we play this here. I don't normally like playing this into unrevealed locations, but I think in this case it's actually right. Oh, I should have played these in the opposite order. Okay, it didn't matter. Good. Well, it's stuck there now, right? We can play this here. It doesn't actually move this yet, right?
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man here.
Okay, that's fine.
I am Iron Man.
No cards for you. They have Prio, actually. So this is vulnerable to wave. Or to arrow, I mean. So if we go like this. I feel like they're gonna arrow over here. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Yep. Oh, that's annoying. Three, 6, 7. They have priority. Are they Alioth? That's 10. 3, 6, 7. What if we do this and just win all 3 lanes? 3. No, this loses to Alioth left. 3, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. All right. Sure. You got Alioth? They didn't play it there. Well, that was a weird play on their part. Okay.
Victory.
That seems like the last... Did that even... Okay. Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Dude, I've enjoying making them. We actually just filmed another one this morning. I think it's going to be really, really, really good. I'm excited. All right. Lammy is a genius. Dude is so freaking smart. I learned so much watching or just being in those videos with him. I knew I recognized your name from somewhere. They snapped, huh? Is it a Galactus deck? Are they gonna try and Galactus us here? Wave. Will explode. It's Galactus, right? They're gonna Galactus mid. Yep. We just go Iron Man on the last turn, right? That's safer than Alioth? Like armor into Iron Man? I think so. Yep. Aw, they were scared, chat.